Everyone, it's Kristen. So I'm wearing one of my Scarlet Witch shirts because I just watched Agatha all along last night. And before I get into that, I just wanted to do a little bit of background on Agatha for those of you that don't know. So she's a one of the original witches from the Salem Witch Trials, which okay. So everyone, well, people that have seen my channel know that I'm a huge fan of history, and for me, the Salem witch trials has always like held a kind of a fascination, just because I mean, what a crazy time. Of course, there's precedents in Europe because like all 1400 through like 1775 there were witch trials and like tens of thousands of people died, because they were accused of being witches. And so it kind of makes sense that having come, mostly from Europe, they brought kind of some of those sensibilities with them. But what's fascinating to me is that it was so like isolated in this one area that mostly that it happened. There were like 200 people accused of being a witch, and 25 people died, which 200, 25 doesn't seem like a huge number, but I mean, 19 people were executed by, hanging. One person died from torture. Five people died in the jail cells because, of course, they were in jail and the jails weren't even probably kept up at all. They probably didn't check on them, whatever, but, they died while in jail. And just, I mean, the craziest thing to me is that it's all like circumstantial. Just these young girls started by accusing some members of the community of being a witch, like that they said they caused them physical and mental harm, and just people ran with it, being scared, paranoid, whatever. They ran with it. I mean, granted, trials and not obviously 200 people accused of being witch. Not everyone was convicted, but still 25 people dying because they were accused of being witch and found guilty. That's still a pretty high number, and it's just all based on, yeah, circumstance, mob mentality, like, oh my gosh, they're a witch, that it makes me think of that one episode. I know this is weird, but of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where they go to Salem, and of course, her being a witch in the show doesn't want to go, and the person saying, the teacher's like, I gave you all cards, and that'll say whether you're a witch or a townsperson. And obviously, supposedly, they were all, townspeople. No one was a witch. Of course, when she opened her card, it said witch because she really is a witch. But anyway, no one, no one was supposed to be a witch. And the fact that even just that little seed of doubt or that little suggestion was planted, that caused people, of course, Libby not liking Sabrina, was out to get her. But I mean, that's part of it, is that people like were jealous. They didn't like someone just because maybe they were different, they're weird, didn't like, maybe they went and foraged in the forest and, used herbs and other natural things from nature to cure and help with pain, or whatever they did, or their garden could grow better than anyone else's because they knew the right fertilizers and combinations of things to use. And just whatever it was, it just all of a sudden just, took off. It's just crazy to me. And I feel like that sort of thing unfortunately still happens. Not in that way, but like, for example, bullies. They, pick on one kid, and there's usually more than just the one bully. It's usually a group of them, and there's one person in charge. And if they can get their followers to agree with them and bully this kid, then this kid, he feels, usually they're isolated. They don't have very many friends or people to stand up for them. And, they just, yeah, it sucks. I mean, it just, unfortunately, it's still kind of alive and well today. Not to that extent where you're put on trial and you're put to death, but unfortunately, it still exists. Like in our schools and other places, workplaces, like, oh, that person's weird. Like, oh, they don't look quite like me, or they don't act exactly like me, so they must be a witch. Anyway, so I'm sorry, got off on a tangent. You know how I do that. I try not to, but I do. Anyway, history, fascinating, crazy, the stuff that's happened in our history, but it's important to um, know that it happens, because then we won't, repeat it. We'll learn from it. That's the whole point of learning history. So, anyway, so Agatha, a witch from the Salem era, she, her son is actually one of the most like evil people out there. He had 7 kids. That's the Salem Seven that they mentioned in the episode, and of course, all those kids are out to get Agatha. And there's a town called New Salem, and that's kind of where they're based. And Agatha, when she was first introduced, she was Franklin Richards' nanny, basically, in 1969, I believe, in Fantastic Four. And she has mentored and trained Scarlet Witch. She's died before and come back, like in ghost form, and then come back, like, in her whole body. And she actually did, I will say, de-age recently, like in the like 2020, 2021. So kind of right around the time that WandaVision took place. But she usually appeared, as an older woman. It's weird because like the Darkhold, of course, is it's this book of knowledge that this elder god, I can't pronounce his name, I'm not going to try because I don't know how. He is responsible for it. He like wrote down all of his spells, his evil doings, and wrote it all down in scrolls. Supposedly, the first time it was written down, it was on flesh. Ew, that's gross. Um, and Morgan Le Fay was said to be the first person to actually put the scrolls into a book. So thus the Darkhold was born. Yeah, and it's corruptive. This absolute power. I mean, it's evil in nature, but it's absolute power and it's corruptive. I mean, you see all kinds of supervillains in the Marvel universe, being corrupted in trying to use its power. And well, you saw, Agatha had it in WandaVision, and then Scarlet Witch had it, and she turned, evil. In Doctor Strange, Multitude of Madness. Um, yeah. So I mean, it corrupts, and like in Agents of Shield, it was corruption in the form of scientific knowledge, and like Ada, the life model decoy, the digital assistant of Branson. I think that's his name. It's been a while since I've watched that show. It's a good show, though. She used the Darkhold. She read it because if you were human, you couldn't read it because it would corrupt you and you'd go crazy. She actually read it and she was corrupted and she like went crazy and tried to make everyone's mind go into the framework, which is, like a digital world and not the real world. And she tried to use the Darkhold to gain humanness, and even though she was a computer, and used it to steal inhuman powers and everything. So it's just, it's great. And I found this in my comic book collection. It's actually a mini series about the Darkhold specifically, and I got it so you could see kind of what Agatha looks like originally looked like in the comics. She looks kind of scary there, but she's in a trance. So I mean, she's an older woman, and even Doctor Strange respects her power. So that should tell you something, that even he respects her power. And she's basically in a trance and trying to figure out what the Scarlet Witch saw when she was in this trance. And that happened in, like I said, I won't spend a lot of time on this. That happened in issue 3, and she was reciting the same Latin words. And this is what happened when, she was reciting these Latin words and she was being corrupted. And then basically Agatha was echoing what the Scarlet Witch did and said in order to find out what happened, to find out about the prophecy that's in this book. And Doctor Strange silenced her because apparently, we don't know what she said, of course, but apparently he said, why would you speak those words here? And Agatha's like, I'm sorry, my trance was broken. And Doctor Strange is like, I'm sorry, I forgot you were just repeating what Wanda said. And Wanda's like, I spoke Latin. She doesn't really remember this. And so basically the prophecy saying that in the Darkhold says that a child born of no man and of a woman marked by sin, daughter becomes mother, and then the dark return begins. There's much more to the prophecy, but, these 4 lines are about you. You're a woman marked by sin in that the elder god influenced your birth. And you gave birth to 2 children born to no man, because of course the visions of Android. And, the sad fate of, her kids aside, there's no doubt that this prophecy is about her. And that means that the elder god's, hour of return draws near. And Wanda's like, oh, well, we'll just defeat him like we did the last time. And, Agatha said, well, that's just a small taste, part of him. Like, to look upon him completely, it would drive you mad. Like, you can't know. Like, there's no knowing him. It's beyond comprehension. Anyway, so basically just, kind of a little touch on Agatha and the Darkhold. And so basically, the last time Agatha kind of appeared, she, like I said, the Darkhold corrupts. And so what happened is the Scarlet Witch absorbed the Darkhold and part of this elder god inside of her. And when Agatha came back, she actually was like de-aged, and she was a member of the Strange Academy for a while. She taught like spells and how to get into places that are magically protected. So, and it's interesting because in this, she made because they're tracking these scholars who Mordred basically is using to collect all the pages of the Darkhold. They're tracking them, and Agatha uses her spells to appear as this woman. So it's not the first time that she's, been de-aged, so to speak. And what I love the most about this, let me see if I can find it. I didn't mark it for some reason. I don't know why I didn't mark it. Okay. Well, this is embarrassing. Like, oh yeah, here it is. And her familiar, they're like, "Oh, catch that cat," and then the cat turns into, a panther, and they're like, "Oh, shoot." So I love that too because I love cats. So I think it's fun for her to have a familiar. Anyway, so just now I've already talked for like 14 minutes. I'm sure no one else is going to tune in for the rest of this video. So basically, as I was saying, she was during the Strange Academy. She's, younger now. Like, apparently some explosion from the last battle caused her to de-age and basically gain back her full powers. And what happens is she was corrupted, or has always been corrupted. This has always been her goal. I'm not sure about this, but she went after the Darkhold and used it used Earth's champions to fight against each other so that she could gain more of the Darkhold. and she actually did remake the Darkhold, and it was born like as a sentient being, like a young man. So it's complicated. Everything in comics seems to be complicated. But anyway, so Agatha all along. Okay, the first part of it, to me, first like 25 minutes, it was a little slow. I was like, what's going on? Like Agnes of Westview, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess because they're still trapped there. But I don't know. I didn't think because like I mean I'm like, okay, well, who's the dead girl? What happened to her? Like was that just, an illusion? Like is there no dead girl? Like I wanted to know what happened to, the dead girl. I mean, is that even like was that a real thing? I'm thinking that wasn't a real thing, but now I just like I have questions like I want to know what happened and who that was. Goodness. So, yeah, a little slow. Obviously, I knew as soon as she saw the locket that it was important somehow. And I think it's interesting that, I mean, they're calling him Joe when I looked up the cast, that he can't say his name or he can't say who he is. Like when he's talking, it's all garbled to Agatha. So I feel like, yeah, that's definitely interesting. Obviously, I'm assuming we'll find out more as the show goes on. Um, okay, when I saw Aubrey Plaza and heard her voice, like all I could think about is her being Lenny in Legion and her being the voice of Grumpy Cat in this movie. See, it says featuring Aubrey Plaza. I mean, I watched this movie every year. It was like a lifetime movie. I love Grumpy Cat. I'm just like, of course, she died. She had a like form of dwarfism or some kind of disease that made her so small. But I loved her, and like this movie was, I think, 2014. Yeah, and I watched it every year, and so I don't know. Every time I see Aubrey Plaza or hear her voice, this is all I can think about. I mean, she looks awesome. She looked, really cool, like in her witch garb, attacking Agatha. But I still thought of this. Oh, I mean, I don't know. I wonder if she regrets doing this movie. Like, I'm glad she did it because I love this movie. It's of course it's corny and I mean, it's a Christmas movie for one. So of course it's super corny, but I love that movie. I think it's really fun. Um, yeah. So I mean, it was for me, Agatha all along started out a little slow, but at the end of it, at the end of episode 2, I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. I want to know what's happening. I want to know what's going on. Like for one thing, why did they leave their shoes behind? Why did everyone like leave their shoes? I don't understand that part. Like, does anyone like, am I missing something? I also thought when they were singing the song, down the road, I thought everyone sounded really good. I wonder if that's actually them singing, because that would be cool. Like, I wish I could sing, but I can't sing. But yeah, I liked that part. I thought that was fun. It was, different, a musical without really being a musical, because that's of course only one song. But yeah, I'm interested. And I wonder if of course, because the neighbor, I'm assuming she probably isn't really a witch, like a green witch. And Agatha just used her because she didn't want to use Aubrey Plaza. But it would be interesting if she turns out to be a green witch, like have some latent kind of magical abilities or something. So I guess we'll see. Like I said, I'm interested now. I'm here for it. If it had ended at episode 1, I don't know. I'd be like, okay. I mean, I guess I'll watch it. But now I'm actually interested to see where it goes. So, uh, yeah, I apologize for this being like, you know, super lengthy. Me, of course, talking too much as normal, per normal. But I appreciate you guys being here, and I will, say in the comments like I think it's probably a good idea if you want to skip like 14 minutes ahead, then that's where I actually talk about the show. Anyway, so I hope you'll join me in the future for more videos. Like I said, my Dazzler video that I uploaded today. Yeah, hopefully the next video will be Uncanny X-Men 2, or at least the new Dazzler 1. I'm, still waiting on those issues. I hope that Uncanny X-Men 2 comes before Uncanny X-Men 3, which comes out this Wednesday. We'll see. So until next time. Oh, and if you haven't, you should go and watch all my mansion videos. I thought it was time for me to like do a face-to-face video, or a couple at least, since I haven't done that in like a month or so, because I've been doing mansion videos. But anyway, so you guys should check that out, and I appreciate everyone that actually watches me like talk and rant and go off on a tangent all the time. And I appreciate you, subscribing. And so I would also appreciate it if you guys would share my videos, especially like the mansion videos, because they're short. You don't hear me rambling a whole lot. So yeah, I would appreciate that. So share those with your friends. Until next time, bye.